All right, what's poppin', everyone? It is Little Hope Plays. We are back for another week of the PBO Pokemon Battle Organization, a draft league Pokemon Showdown format. We are doing best of threes, no changes in between the matches. We also have item clause, as well as like somewhat of like a species clause between the weeks, so you can only bring forward Pokemon from the last week. We are, of course, the New York Nickets. This is our squad. We have Sneasler, who is also our Terra captain, who can be Terra Fighting or Terra Flying. We have Braviary Hisui, Rotom Mo, Klefki, Lycanroc, Pyroar, Samurai Hisui, Tatsugiri, Spidops, Sandaconda, and our newest addition, Gothitelle, which is switch out from Combinable last week. If you are curious, the format that we are doing is Gen 9 Paldea Dex plus Legends Arceus Pokemon. And I think we're also doing Post Home. But yeah, this is our squad. As you can see, I kind of solidified most of our weaknesses up from having Carbonal on the team. Obviously, it's still not perfect. Like, we only have one immunity dragon. That's pretty scary, but overall, not terrible. We're also still kind of weak to ground. And this week we are up against the Boston Bulbasaurs, which their team is shown here. So they have a Iron Hands, Grimmsnarl, Brute Bonnet, Colossal, Chansey, Flareon, Clodsire, which can Terra Captain and can be Terra Ground or Terra Steel. Then it has Noivern, Muck, Delibird, and Dragonair. So, looking at some of their weaknesses, obviously this is not everything in terms of team building. Obviously last week I still definitely could have lost game 1. As well as potentially game 2, even though someone's draft or team might not be incredibly solid, you can still put in a lot of work. But using some of these weaknesses, I am essentially going to be building on some of them. But overall, it's not everything. Just looking at their squad of what can be scary, obviously Iron Hands is very bulky. You're like almost guaranteed to only 2-hit KO, 3-hit KO this thing. You're never going to one-shot this thing because it has such high HP. Then we have Grimmsnarl, which is obviously very annoying with Prankster, can also set up screens, do all sorts of annoying stuff. Also, they have Brute Bonnet, which can be Loaded Dice Bullet Seed, as well as the growth sets with Sucker Punch. And honestly, these two Sucker Punch mons are actually pretty strong against my team, because I think my main resist is Samurott, Klefki, and Sneasler. And for Sneasler, Grimmsnarl can hit neutrally with a Fairy move. Samurott does not resist the other stabs of Grass or Fairy from Brute Bonnet and Grimmsnarl. So like Klefki is essentially my only answer for those two. Then moving forward, we have Colossal, which definitely might come, but I'm not 100% on it. Chansey with Stealth Rocks, Flareon, very good for hitting my Klefki, because I think my Klefki is definitely going to be a bring. Clodsire, very bulky and annoying, can set up rocks and just recover. Also has Water Absorb, which is pretty strong against my Samurai Hisui, for what I want to do with it essentially. But they might not also run Water Absorb. They might run Unaware, because essentially this team, honestly, Boston Bulbasaurs is probably the best counter to my Sneasler, which is definitely very strong, but it's almost like hard countered by Clodsire if it's Unaware. As well as defensive Muck just takes absolutely nothing from like Terra Fight close combat. I think it takes like max like 30-35%, which is obviously pretty bad. Muck I don't think it's a strong form of recovery. Do need to check that really quick though, because I did not think about that. Muck, you get recover. Okay, no, you only get rest, and it seems recycle. Yeah, okay. Sorry, just had to double check. But essentially this thing doesn't get max recovery, but I know it gets Earthquake for Sneasler, which would definitely be annoying. Also thought about running a Sneasler acrobatic set, and still does nothing to defensive Muck, so there's really no point of running acrobatics on Sneasler. Noivern is their only defogger, and Noivern is extremely fast. I think it's faster than my whole team. So yeah, that's also really annoying. Then we have Delibird. I don't think Delibird will come, just because I can't believe Delibird's stats are so low at 330. I mean, maybe it could be usable if it's Hustle Ice Shard, but then again, it's still not great. And then Dragonair could definitely be just an Eviolite, bulky, annoying Thunder Wave set. I honestly could see like a wrapped Thunder Wave set. That would be pretty sick with that as well. But that is essentially their squad. And going through with looking at their squad, I took a little bit of time just to think about what I wanted to do. So first of all, I'm bringing Tatsugiri again from last week. So the 4 that I'm bringing from last week, I think, are these 3 and this one, and then these 2 are the new ones. So we're bringing Tatsugiri again because essentially my opponent has a lot of options for Stealth Rock Spikes or Toxic Spikes. And obviously I'm not bringing Sneasler this week, which I'll explain in a second, but I do need something to rapid spin Toxic Spikes away if that is a problem, because Toxic Spikes are very, very annoying. I'm running Draco Meteor just because for the most part it pretty much hits everything, besides obviously for Chansey because it's a crazy wall, and Grimmsnarl, but we can obviously just surf Grimmsnarl, as well as I wanted an option to not reduce my special attack when I hit the Clodsire, considering that Clodsire could also be water absorbed. Considering that it's best of 3, it is pretty nice that after the first game I will know whether it's water absorb or not, hopefully. And I can icy wind the following game if I need to, if it is water absorb. I'm running enough speed to speed creep. I think it's Flareon. Yeah, I think it's Flareon. I think that's the, yeah, I think I'm hitting that mark. No, it's below Flareon. Might be Brute Bonnet. I might have to redo these EVs then, because I definitely need to be speed creeping probably Grimmsnarl. Or to be honest, well, Flareon I don't think much. I definitely need to speed creep Grimmsnarl though. Let me change that. So just a quick tip if you don't know how to speed creep anything. So we're going for Grimmsnarl, which is 60. We're gonna put it all the way up to Jolly. See that the speed is 240, meaning Tatsugiri needs to hit 241. Let's reduce this. There we go. Boop. And now we just speed creeped max speed Grimmsnarl. Because that's definitely important in case we need to get a surf off. Although priority still might be up. We'll see, we'll see. We have some checks and some counters, so yeah, Flareon we definitely don't need to outspeed. The other ones are kind of like iffy, Delibird, Dragonair. Anyway, that's essentially the set. We definitely need rapid spin. Assault Vest is just kind of convenient, especially if like Noivern wants to come in. I need to take a Draco Meteor. For the most part, their team is pretty physical. I would say the only special is what, Noivern, maybe Colossal. So Assault Vest is definitely not bad, but I don't know. Now I'm rethinking everything. Assault Vest is useful for Noivern, as well as like I could run. I don't know. I could run something else. I'll probably let y'all know if I change it. I'll think about it a little bit more. But moving forward, we have Nicki Minaj, the Sandaconda, Rocky Helmet, Sandspit. This is essentially a counter for Iron Hands, which we definitely need. Even with Ice Punch, we do not take anything from an Iron Hands. Earthquake obviously does a lot. Stealth Rock, Body Press, and Rock Blast. Pretty sure the main reason why I'm running Earthquake, there's a big reason. Yeah, Body Press is for the Brute Bonnet. Rock Blast is for the Noivern in case it ever tries to switch in. And Stealth Rock is obviously just nice. And this essentially is our main way of countering Iron Hands, as well as some defensive lawns, like a backup to like Flareon. Honestly, Chansey is probably going to be pretty annoying this game. But even Body Press on a Chansey will be pretty nice. And then moving on from this, we got some more heat for the first week of coming to the New York Knickets. Oh brother, this guy stinks. Gothitelle is here, and I'm bringing an actually pretty unique and probably bad set, I'd arguably say. I am bringing Psychic Terrain Gothitelle, and the reason why I'm bringing it is because Psychic Terrain gets rid of priority moves, meaning Grimmsnarl and Brute Bonnet's Sucker Punch will not be able to activate in the Psychic Terrain. And I think if they're running Sucker Punch, they're not going to want to run Crunch, because essentially, like for Brute Bonnet, you're probably running Growth, Growth, Sucker Punch, maybe Crunch, Bullet Seed, but instead of Crunch, you're most likely going to run Spore or either a coverage move. So my main objective is to try to set up Psychic Terrain as fast as possible. We have it for 8 turns, which is definitely very useful for us, especially since we have some other stuff in the back that we want to keep priority safe. Focus Blast is to hit Brute Bonnet in case it tries to switch in, and Thunderbolt is to hit Grimmsnarl in case it tries to switch in, because Focus Blast has a high chance of missing. Frisk, very good ability for checking people's items. Shadow Tag is banned for this. It is a PU Pokemon after all. But yeah, Terrain Extender to just try to get the max amount of Psychic Terrain up. Psychic Terrain will also be useful for increasing our Psyshock damage, because looking at their team, they are definitely weak to Psyshock, except for the few Pokemon that are immune, which we do have some coverage for. So we can most of the time predict that they're going to come out. But yeah, I also may need to speed creep for... I probably need to speed creep for Grimmsnarl as well for this. So 241. Yeah, let's change that. I definitely need to speed creep for Grimmsnarl. Yeah, okay, we're definitely higher. Next we have Slayman the Samurott Hisui. We are running a Scope Lens Sharpness set, which is pretty cool. We're running Cecil's Edge because we want to get spikes up as quickly as possible to reduce some of these Wally Pokemon like Clodsire and Chansey, and also prevent like a lot of switches. But this definitely does encourage Clodsire to come out, especially if it's water absorbed. That's why we are running Ice Beam and we are running a mix set. I'm running Aqua Cutter, which is boosted by Sharpness, because it's a high crit ratio move, as well as Brick Break to destroy screens in case Grimmsnarl comes. I'll probably change this item as well, because I think I had Drill Run before, which supports this Scope Lens idea. I think I just kind of quickly change that, so I probably will change the item as well, but I will again let y'all know before I do that. Next, oh wait, this speed creeps, I think this speed creeps Delibird. But yeah, next we have Klefki's, which is Leftovers Prankster. Obviously Prankster kind of sucks against dark type Pokemon, but in the case that Grimmsnarl comes out, we can always just Draining Kiss. We have Magnet Rise specifically for, I think, Clodsire, as well as I'm pretty sure someone else. I think Iron Hands gets Earthquake. I think that was the main reason. Let me double check that, otherwise that's gonna look stupid. Iron Hands, Earthquake. It does get Earthquake. That's why I ran it. Sorry, I made this like I think 2 days ago. But yeah, Draining Kiss, Magnet Rise to prevent the ground type moves, and we have Calm Mind, which is actually pretty huge for us, because in the potential that we have a chance to set up on something, like if Chansey just like starts setting up rocks or something, we might not win that 1v1, but maybe if like we come in on Brute Bonnet, Grimmsnarl, etc., we have a chance to start Calm Minding up. As well as we have Sleep Talk, which is just kind of a backup move in case we need a Spore, and in case something needs to catch a Spore from Brute Bonnet. So this is definitely a very good switch in for Brute Bonnet. Next we have America with the Expert Belt, Tinted Lens, Dazzling Gleam, Psyshock, U-Turn, and Esper Wing. I think this also needs to, but I mean most of the time, fine, I'll do it. I don't want to, but I'll do it. We will speed creep the Grimmsnarl, unfortunately, just in case it's max speed, even though it's not going to be, or I hope it's not. But Expert Belt, Dazzling Gleam, Psyshock, U-Turn, and Esper Wing. So looking at the enemy team, a lot of weaknesses to Psychic type mons, and the two that are immune are weak to Fairy, meaning Dazzling Gleam is a very good bring. Even if he wants to switch in on the resist to like Fairy type moves, they'll still take neutral damage due to Tinted Lens. Then Esper Wing is actually pretty good for us, because in the scenario that these dark types are getting weakened, but I still need speed boost to outspeed. To outspeed Noivern, I'm gonna need like at least two Esper Wings boosts, but in the chance that I do need speed boosts, I can go for this. Expert Belt increases my damage for Psychic or Fairy type moves. It's just beneficial overall, and U-Turn is just first in priority. But yeah, that is essentially the squad. Wow, I rambled on for almost 15 minutes. Damn. Yeah, like I said again, this item and this item may change before the fight, but I'll let y'all know. But without further ado, let's go to the battle. All right, and we are back for the battle, but before we start, I do want to say that I made a slight change. I still kept a Tatsugiri's Assault Vest because I was worried that Noivern might come, and I was super worried that I was not taking Draco Meteors very well. And then for Samurai Hisui, I actually got rid of what was the move here? Ice Beam for Jurun to actually just pretend like Scope Lens is a good item for it, and because it's high crit ratio, and these two are high crit ratio. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Going into the battles, we have game 1. Looking at the squad, I was actually shocked that Colossal came, and I was surprised that Muck did not come, because I thought Muck would be a super strong counter to my Sneasler. But that's okay. Everything else was pretty much somewhat anticipated. So starting off, I immediately want to get up my Psychic Terrain. I thought that'd be very useful in case it's a Grimmsnarl lead. I can prevent the screens and such. So I lead off with Gothitelle. They lead off with Chansey, which obviously makes sense because they want to get Stealth Rocks up. I immediately set up the Psychic Terrain because I was like, I want to see how much damage I can do with Psyshock. I think I was just checking to see if it was defensive or especially defensive. I'm pretty sure all the time they're defensive with EV Light. Also, Frisk allows me to see the EV Light, which is very nice. They switch out, predicting my Psyshock, so pretty smart on them. They get out Brute Bonnet. Obviously, I'm a little bit worried here, but I'm gonna obviously go into Klefki, and off the rip, I see Crunch. So if you did not watch the team overview, I was really not anticipating Crunch. I was really hoping that it was like Spore, Sucker Punch, Bullet Seed, and then like a coverage move, or like potentially Growth. But of course, it was Crunch. You're gonna see, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'll talk about it in the end, actually. But they go for Crunch, which really sucks for me. So here I'm just gonna go for a Draining Kiss. They make a very, very well played go into Colossal. And honestly, looking here, I'm like kind of scared of Colossal. So I of course make a switch into Tatsugiri. Yeah, so I go Tatsugiri here. I was expecting a fire move, of course, and Tatsugiri resists that by ×4, and they go for a Sunny Day. And after I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm actually really scared, but if it's Sunny Day, that most likely means that it's special, so hopefully this isn't a problem. So they start going for Solar Beams. I'm going to go for a Rapid Spin, obviously get rocks out of the way. So Solar Beam, I see 20%. I'm like, okay, we can work with this. I can wait till the sun goes away. I don't want to go for Surf here because it will probably proc the Steam Engine. And realistically, I didn't want to go for Surf off the rip and then have them outspeed my entire team and just sweep me. So I definitely did not want that to happen. So I do go for a Draco Meteor here. They go for a Stone Edge and they miss, and I got super lucky these games, 100%, because that Stone Edge, judging off of game 1, should have done 77%, which would have killed my Tatsugiri, or at least around 70%. So I don't know, I still now don't even know what kind of mix set this is, but it is actually pretty cool. So yeah, luckily we dodged that Stone Edge. So I switched into Gothitelle, because I was definitely thinking that Tatsugiri would be pretty valuable to throw off some more Draco Meteors later on. They actually double out, assuming I don't know if they predicted my switch or maybe predicting me to go for a Surf. They go into Brute Bonnet. We also check, it has Photosynthesis to go well with the sun, which is actually super hype too. So I think that was just a good play on their part to just double out into this, get the attack boost, and then kind of threaten out my Tatsugiri as well as take no damage. They probably also have Growth, which is, no, they have Crunch, Sucker Punch, Spore, and Bullet Seed. But they probably just want this attack boost. I think they're loaded dice at this point, but I wasn't ready to make that assumption yet. I'm so sorry for this train. Hate living here, but yeah, this is 252 HP mixed attack and Colossal. They go for a Spore. I immediately, or once they bring in Brute Bonnet, I immediately go Klefki because it's my counter for it, and I'm like, yes, finally my Sleep Talk strategy will actually be useful. So we go for the Sleep Talk, and what do you know, Draining Kiss does not work because Brute Bonnet is a dark type and Sleep Talk activates. How does that make any sense? Or how does that make sense that it works like that? Like, how was I supposed to know that? I did not know that at all. That's so dumb. Anyway, we take the crunch. Good thing we like overall resist this thing, and also it doesn't have setup moves, because if it just started growthing here, that would probably be pretty bad. So I'm just sitting here. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't take that much from that crunch. I'm just gonna sleep top. Hopefully we get like a calm mine up or something, and we do get a calm mine up, which is really big. They're gonna go for a bullet seed. That obviously does a little bit more than crunch. And based off that, they hit 4 to 5 times. It's definitely looking like it's loaded dice, especially you don't run bullet seed unless you're running break subs. But again, I clicked draining kiss here because I thought I would get out of sleep, and I thought it would be more useful rather than just sleep talking. So this turn I do wake up, I go for a draining kiss. I actually gain a pretty decent amount of health, so I'm actually winning this 1v1 even if he spores. But actually, if he spored here, it probably, let's see, I draining kiss again, right? Ah, they go Chansey. Okay, I thought I draining kiss there and like maybe they win that 1v1, maybe they don't. At this point, Chansey comes out. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want Klefki in. I make a misplay game too, though. We'll talk about that later. We first see that's Eviolite. We go immediately into Gothitelle because I do want the Psychic Terrain up. We do get paralyzed, which is a little bit unfortunate. I was also thinking about going for Focus Blast. Once we set up the Psychic Terrain, though, I was like, okay, well, it's a bit unfortunate we don't get a little bit of damage off this, but I am going to have the Psychic Terrain up, which will be good for my other mons that don't want to take Sucker Punches. And we go into Samurai, and they actually switch out threatening Knockoff, but ironically, I got rid of Knockoff for some other stupid move, Brick Break. Yeah. So I do end up going for Ceaseless Edge here just because I wanted the spikes up. I thought it'd be pretty useful in this match. They immediately go into Brute Bonnet, which does spore me again. I think I definitely Sleep Talk here. They switch out into Colossal. Definitely good play on their part. I get off, well, I don't even get off Draining Kiss because of Psychic Terrain, but hoping that I get at least like a Calm Mind up. They then decide to go for a Flare Blitz on my Klefki. I think honestly they could have even set up Sunny Day and that would have worked too. At this point, earlier when Sunny Day was up, my Surf doesn't kill. That's also what I meant by proccing the Steam Engine. So right now, since Sun is not up, my Tatsugiri will outspeed it and go kill it with the Surf. But of course, they bring Clodsire, and they actually brought Water Absorb. So actually, like, super huge that, like, I didn't bring Sneasler this match, but they kind of read into that because I felt like, well, even a Swords Dance set wouldn't have done too much, but this Clodsire ends up being especially defensive too. So they just like hard read me that I wasn't going to bring Sneasler. So very strong on their part. After this, I'm definitely switching into America. At this point, I wasn't sure whether to go for a Psyshock or an Esper Wing. I thought going for Esper Wing might be beneficial, but honestly, Esper Wing is like kind of trash this game because Noivern's not even here. So we do go for an Esper Wing. It takes 51%. That means that it's definitely special defensive, meaning my Psyshock should almost one-shot. I think I need like spikes damage and then it dies, but it's just good to know for match 1. Also, going for the Esper Wing is kind of nice because it makes him think that this next one won't kill, but I do kill it with Psyshock. So that is the Clodsire down, which is definitely very annoying. Then Iron Hands comes out. I'm like, okay, Iron Hands is out. No matter what, I have Sandaconda as a switch in. Sandaconda, ladies and gentlemen, is not a switch in because that is choice banded Iron Hands, and that did a bunch of damage. Sandspit coming up is definitely nice, getting rid of all this chip. I also get Frozen, which absolutely sucks. At this point, I'm like, okay, that did so much, and I was not prepared for that. So I didn't honestly know what to do here, but I was like, okay, well, he's locked into an Ice type move. So let's go Samurai here and maybe put on some offensive pressure. So goes for Ice Punch. We resist it with going 25%. That freeze sucks, honestly. There's a lot of like crazy hacks in this and both of these games, by the way. But so at this point, due to the Sandstorm, I know that I outspeed. So I am going for a Drill Run. So boom, Drill Run does a decent amount of damage to this Grimmsnarl, meaning I'm pretty sure I checked it and this is like dual screens, 252 HP. And I was like, okay, well, this is great. I'll just go for an Aqua Cutter, try to kill this thing. I didn't know if it was defensive, or I couldn't remember if Aqua Cutter killed. I think with a crit it killed, which is why I went for it, because I am Scope Lens. But then I see Reflect is up, which is actually huge because I'm like, okay, well, this is just perfect. He doesn't know I have Brick Break yet, so I can just go for Brick Break now. Also goes for Parting Shot. Again, doesn't work on dark types. I think that's so stupid how Prankster works, but it does make my Samurott a lot better for this match, which I appreciate. So we do kill the Grimmsnarl as well as get rid of the screens, which is huge. Iron Hands comes back, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, I didn't calc this, but let's see how much it would have done before we went for it. Drill Run, if it's a crit, 37 to 44. So yeah, I definitely shouldn't have stated. Essentially is what happened, but I did go for the Drill Run because also I was a little bit nervous of what they would go for. I was like, well, they might go for Wild Charge, then like maybe I could bring out Sandaconda or blah blah blah. I don't know, I just felt like at this point Samurott wasn't worth keeping, but it definitely kind of was worth keeping because I needed it for Chansey, because at this point you can see special attacker, special attacker, special attacker, and then Frozen. Pretty much a bad play on my part that I sack Samurott here. I go into Braviary. At this point this thing is definitely dead. I also go for Dazzling Gleam in case Brute Bonnet comes out. Next I think Colossal comes out, but at this point my Expert Wing does about like 30%, so I was kind of guaranteed this kill. Then Chansey comes out, which is obviously the big pain. I go for a U-turn. I think I switch into Sandaconda. I was really hoping that they would just go for like Thunder Wave, or not Thunder Wave, Stealth Rocks, just because, like, you know, they could toss at any point. I felt like they knew that they could stall in front of me, but they go for a really good play in Seismic Tossing. They do take some Rocky Helmet and Sandspit damage, but at this point I'm like, okay, well, I might have just lost this game because Chansey is a dynamic, super strong, especially defensive wall, and I pretty much have nothing for it. I was kind of just betting on like spamming Psyshocks, or maybe holding out on Klefki, trying to Calm Mind, Draining Kiss for as much. I mean, you'll see game 2, I try that and it does not work out well, but luckily Nicki Minaj, the Sandaconda, pulls through, thaws out, turn 1, body presses, and kills the Chansey with a crit, which I don't even think it would kill with a crit otherwise. Super lucky on that. Also, apparently Sandaconda is like decently fast, because I was very surprised that Brute Bonnet did not outspeed. It must not have been full speed EVs. Huh, it might have been full HP. Interesting. Oh well. So we go for the body press and that dies, and we get the game 1. And honestly, we probably should have lost that one. Not gonna lie, I probably shouldn't have sacked Samurott. But overall, like, Psychic Terrain was okay. Having ironically Sleep Talk into Draining Kiss Prankster, I was like, okay, game 1 did not go well. I don't even know how to adapt, because like the sets that I brought are the sets that I brought. So I was like really concerned on how I can even like prevent that from happening. Maybe if I just don't have, like, even if Psychic Terrain is not up, that Sleep Talking and Draining Kiss does not work. So I'm just praying that I play game 2 right. So here we go, going in game 2. I have the same idea. I'm leading Gothitelle. They decide to lead Iron Hands. Obviously we can see the choice band here. Here I'm like, okay, I calced how much my Psyshock does. It does not do a lot of damage, especially since this thing has a higher special defense stat, or defensive stat. It's doing like max like 40%, even with Psychic Terrain up. So I was like, okay, maybe he goes for Wild Charge here, and I can go into Sandaconda. But he actually makes an excellent play in predicting me. He goes straight up for the Ice Punch and crits me off the rip. At this point, I'm like, well, my Sandaconda is really low, but also it's like the only way that I can kind of stop Chansey from just completely murking me, because I didn't bring Sneasler. So I do switch into Samurott, because it is locked into Ice Punch. And then boom, we get hit with another crit, which is 43, which is actually a lot. Because I think with 2 Sand Chip and like 2 more Ice Punches, I'm just dead. And like my Drill Run does not kill here. So at this point, I think I still go for, oh, I actually double again. And I was not expecting the Brute Bonnet play, but at that point I was like, okay, well, Samurott just took a lot again, so I just made another misplay, and I probably should have just gone Klefki in the first place, which is what I do. So I go into Klefki. They actually double out into Brute Bonnet. Pretty good play on their part, probably just protecting a draw run. They spore me. I'm just going to start doing my sleep talk shenanigans. Anytime I'm asleep, I'll just go for sleep talk most of the time. I do show Magnet Rise here, which will end up actually being super useful. So they go for Sunny Day, which means I still can't kill them with the Surf. My Draco does half, and you can see here Stone Edge does 77, meaning if it landed game 1, my Tatsugiri was dead, which definitely sucks. I just keep going for a Draco because after my -2, my Surf still doesn't kill, so there's no reason for me to go to it and then cause this thing to get a +6 boost. So I'm definitely trying to avoid that. They actually go for a slight misplay and Solar Beaming, meaning my next Draco Meteor will kill, and I still have Tatsugiri alive, which allows me to do a couple of things. I could have switched out and essentially kept it alive because it is pretty fast. And it does have Surf and Draco Meteor, which can be very useful. But it does go into Iron Hands, and honestly, I was like, well, this thing is choice banded. I don't want to predict what it goes for, so I am just going to go for another Draco and just sack this. They do go for Ice Punch, which I think means I immediately go out into. I was thinking about whether or not to go into Samurott or Klefki, but the thing is here, the reason why I go into Braviary Hisui is, I think, based off like this really basic choice band set, my Esper Wing does a lot. They may have been 252 HP, but still, even if they're 252, I was gonna kill with an Esper Wing, which makes me go for a ballsy play and U-turning because I thought they would go for either Grimmsnarl or Brute Bonnet, but they actually stay in, which is a super bold move on their part. I do U-turn out into my Klefki. I do take the Ice Punch pretty well. At this point, I think I just sleep talk again, and at this point, I think I start getting some Calm Minds up. I think I'm gonna sleep talk again just because I wasn't sure what this Chansey was gonna do to me, and I thought ideally if I can just continuously Calm Mind up and Draining Kiss, that I would be able to heal back the health that I take from it, because it has super high health, right? But that's not the case, and it's essentially not worth what I'm doing right now, so I'm just wasting health. So I do switch out in Gothitelle. I think at this point I was thinking about going for Focus Blast, but I still end up going for Psychic Terrain, and then I just end up going for Psyshock to get a little bit of chip off of that thing. Next we go Sandaconda. As you can see why it was so important that we got a crit last game that only did 38%. I think the first game they were at 41. But I do want the body press damage, as well as like nothing really takes a body press too well. But they Seismic Toss. They're gonna take Rocky Helmet into Sand Chip, which will kill the Chansey, which is just absolutely huge for me at this point because overall it can just wall the last couple members of my team. So Chansey dies. Everything is low. My team is a lot faster, but I only have 3 mons and they only have 4 mons left, which isn't everything for sure. But I definitely have to play this right. So as soon as I see that Psychic Terrain is still up, I'm like, okay, Braviary Hisui needs to come in now, because if Grimmsnarl and Brute Bonnet have what am I trying to say? Have Sucker Punch, then I need to like essentially utilize Braviary now. So they make a good play and go into Clodsire. I thought they would Terra Ground right away, but they actually make a good play and go into Grimmsnarl, and I do go for the Psyshock. At this point, I'm like, okay, I don't know what this set is, but ultimately there's no Sucker Punch. It would have to be like, they would just have to not run like a normal Dark type move, or it's Sphere Break. So at this point, I feel pretty comfortable going for a Dazzling Gleam. And then once I see that they go for Reflect, I'm like, okay, they're probably going for screens here. My best play is probably to U-turn into my Samurott and then destroy the screens, because if screens go up, I definitely lose. So I am going to U-turn into my Samurott, and my Samurott is faster than this, also based off the Sandstorm damage, and I EV did around that, and we Brick Break and kill the Grimmsnarl, which is huge for us. It probably did end up having Spirit Break, by the way. Then Brute Bonnet comes out. I end up sacking Samurott Hisui. I thought about switching into Klefki, but I felt like it was too low. And also I didn't want to immediately take a Spore to the face and then potentially lose that 1v1. So I do go into Klefki's, and I can Draining Kiss. Don't pick up the KO, which is unfortunate, but we do gain a lot of HP back. So we are going to catch a sleep. Unfortunately, I think we just Sleep Talk here. We actually pick up a huge Draining Kiss, meaning that the next one will kill. We woke up, I think, turn 2, which kind of sucked because I was hoping for just another Sleep Talk. I was also checking to see if they had what's it called, Earthquake, because if they're locked in the Earthquake, then I can just kind of spam Psychic move, and maybe I win that. I would just have to 1v1 Clodsire with my Braviary, which I don't think it has anything to touch me with besides Toxic. But then again, like, if it's Terra Ground, there's still not a high chance that I survive it. So they do end up going for Wild Charge. They take a little bit of recoil. They're still alive, of course. My Klefki still outspeeds, which is nice. I think they're definitely 252 HP then. My Klefki outspeeds. Because I'm definitely not max speed. Let me see. Klefki 75, Iron Hands. Yeah, if they were 252, they outsped me, so they were definitely full HP. Pick off that Draining Kiss, and then I think Clodsire comes out, and I think, okay, this thing definitely has Earthquake, so I'm just gonna go for Magnarize. They end up being Terra Ground. Very good for me. If they probably brought Terra Steel, it probably would have taken a lot longer to stall it out. Probably would have been harder to stall it. I probably have to spam Calm Minds. Anyway, Magnarize to get rid of the Earthquake. It doesn't matter. They go for Stealth Rock. I think their set is Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Toxic, and something else. So right now I can just spam Calm Mind. So they are Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Recover, and Toxic. That's right. So at this moment, I just straight up wall the Clodsire immediately and can set up Calm Mind boost. I do outspeed the Brute Bonnet, which is super nice, so I can just Draining Kiss that. And then finally Clodsire comes out, and essentially we can't be touched by this thing with Magnarize. So we are just going to end up winning. Opponent forfeits, but we are just going to count it as the Klefki kills. But overall, Klefki pulling through to stop the Clodsire at the very end, which is absolutely huge, because I thought this Klefki set was going to end up being ultra trash because Sleep Talk did not work. Sleep Talk Draining Kiss would not work on Brute Bonnet. Yeah, so there was like a lot of RNG in these matches, which is not great. Also, they're like still definitely very, very close matches. Yeah, I don't know. Am I bad at the game? Probably. But we unfortunately barely, I would argue that we probably shouldn't have won game 1. I think if we didn't thaw, I think we'd be in a lot stickier situation. Game 2 was a lot better, but I did make some misplays, but I think that's just Pokemon. Sometimes you make the wrong call and the opponent makes the right call. But overall, I'm pretty happy. Gothitelle, whether bringing Psychic Terrain Extender was actually worth it. I did ask him afterward. His Brute Bonnet did have Sucker Punch, so technically it was valuable for that specifically. Very shocked that they didn't bring Noivern, because that thing is very fast, but of course, like, not everyone thinks the same, because I was slightly worried about Noivern. And also, they just hard read that I didn't bring Sneasler, and Sneasler would have actually put in a lot of work, not against the Clodsire, but against pretty much everything else. So definitely having to consider whether Sneasler is just like a must come. He's definitely not, but like, he's definitely useful. But my opponent had a good way of defeating it, especially with Clodsire and Muck, defensive Muck build. So I think everything kind of worked this week. I think Samurai had really bad 4 move syndrome this week because I wanted to bring a lot of stuff. But yeah, overall not bad at all. I think Esper Wing was probably bad on Braviary. Sui, if I could take it back, I'd probably get rid of Tinted Lens and go Sheer Force and then have Psychic, and then I'm definitely one-shotting Clodsire instead of or not Clodsire, Iron Hands, I think, even if it's 252 HP. So just like a small thing, but overall we did well. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on for week 4. The New York Knicks are currently 2-1. Big GGs to my opponent. Definitely well played. Definitely some hard, well fought matches, and they played actually very, very excellent. So shout out to them, and without further ado, peace.